Is your outdoor or adventure business not giving you the results and the rewards that you want it to? Is it not fulfilling the dreams, aspirations, and goals that you had for it when you initially set it up? If that's the case for you, what we're going to share with you in today's Business of the Outdoors episode is going to give you the answer to your problem. So if you're curious about it, stay on. Please go and like this video and go and subscribe and check out the other Business of the Outdoors videos that you can find on the tab in the top of the screen just here. As always today, I am joined by my Vice President.
I've been given a promotion.
That's it, you've been promoted. Deputy Prime Minister, my second in command, my headless chicken, my leader, I don't know who he is. He's Mark Hopkins. Hoppy, hello.
Hello, I've just got a promotion. Does that mean I get a pay rise as well?
Yep, you can have a 100% pay rise off nothing.
You're the worst person to work for.
That's it. I always used to tell, I used to run a chain of adventure sports centres, and we had 2,500 volunteers. And I gladly gave them a 400% pay rise every year. On the basis that they didn't earn anything to start with.
The best and worst boss ever.
That's it. It was
you paid them with alcohol and beers and stuff like that.
That's what I used to actually do for our staff meetings. We used to have volunteer cells of people within the volunteers, and every cell would have a leader and a second in charge, and then that would be like a volunteer management group that I'd meet with. But then we then clumped together different groups of cells twice a year. So we'd get about 500 people together. And then the following night, another 500 people. And we'd do one night a week. You get all 2,500 in front of you, because we didn't have a big enough place to put all 2,500 right in front of you then. And I used to cook the world's biggest amount of curries, naan breads, cases of cold beer. And we used to ask for their input into the business, what they thought was good, bad, what needs to be improved. And we literally did it with white paper, a table cover, and crayons. And so right, this is the green question. Everybody get your green crayon. What resources were we missing this season we benefit from next season? Go and write it with green crayon. And then I used to give it to Jill, who worked for me, who used to hate that week because she then used to spend the next month annotating off the table covers.
Curry everywhere.
With curry everywhere, smelling of stale beer. And some of the volunteers used to find it quite funny. So they used to leave cryptic clues for Jill and halfway down, I bet your day sucks more than mine, and all sorts of things. But it was a really interesting way of giving reward and recognition and having a family and running a meeting and getting information in that you need and distributing information back out again without boring volunteers with some epically long 86-page slideshow and forms to fill in and whatever else. And I used to get 80 to 90% of the volunteers turn up for those evenings twice a year, which, if you've ever worked with volunteers before, that's epically large in percentages.
Helps with free beer and free curry.
Look, bribery and corruption, I'm all for it.
Well, especially where we live.
That's it. We live in South Africa. I can tell you a story about that as well. But anyway, that's a whole different thing for a different day. Right. So we're here today to talk about the biggest problem that we know people are facing in their outdoor and adventure sports businesses. And I explained this to you a couple of hours ago around two people baking a cake. And I wonder if you could share with the audience your take on my explanation for this concept.
Well, I'm going to make it very, very practical, because your wife is a very, very, very good baker. Hence, every time I see you, you've got fatter and fatter.
Yep.
So she gave me this recipe for homemade chocolate brownies. And I have had the pleasure and the privilege of eating them at your place. My son and I followed, we had the same ingredients, the same sort of recipe, but definitely not the same levels of skill.
You were about to say, we followed it to the letter. That's what you were about to say. And you're like, no, I didn't actually.
I tried so hard to do it. I really did, but I didn't. And it didn't turn out exactly like it was. It tasted good, but it wasn't perfect. It could have been so much better, and we would have had probably a lot more enjoyment out of it if we weren't boys and actually followed step by step the recipe that she gave us. So that's how I interpret it: is you can have the same ingredients, but if you don't actually follow a proven recipe with the right weight, timings, all that stuff, you're not going to come out with the same thing. It just doesn't happen. So it's about understanding that you need two things in life. You need the ingredients and you need the recipe. And then you as an individual have to follow that to get something successful. And that's what we see in the outdoors. We see one or two companies who have the right ingredients and follow the recipe to the letter. But most of them don't.
That's very true. And it's not their fault. I was just thinking as you were talking, I started talking about the concept of a business pipeline to build and grow a business with 4 or 5 years ago. You're almost like the recipe. You start at one place and you do this, you do this, and then you do this and you do this. And ultimately it builds a very successful business. And it wasn't until 3 months ago that I shared a book with you where somebody else had actually, in a book, had written that pipeline down. And I suppose I want to ask you, like, before we go and step into this pipeline and maybe where the challenges are people are facing, how many other business books have you read and courses and programs have you been on, and that pipeline has never been mentioned before?
99.999% of them.
Yeah, even like the books by the big players like Harvard Business Review and Stanford Business School and any of those ones, they don't talk about this pipeline we're going to talk about today either. It's almost like people are overcomplicating business, or maybe aren't really aware how to go and take a small business from with one person or two people starting it up and say, right, this is the process for a startup. And then this is how you use this process to go and scale a business into whatever shape or size you want it to be. It's like it's missing in the world.
Yeah, I think the problem, a lot of it is that you could view this pipeline as the most simple thing that you've ever heard in your life. And because it's so simple, it doesn't stroke our egos at all. And it doesn't make us sound more intellectual because it is so simple. Once you hear it, you're going, shit, that can't be it. It really can't. There must be something more complicated than that. And I think the second reason why not many people know about it or follow it is you do have to be a little bit brave to go out there and ask yourself and certain people questions. And I think a lot of it is, a lot of people don't like asking questions because, again, if you ask a question, you're implying that you don't know the answer. And I think that's the two things why. One, it's not complicated. It's too simple. Therefore, it doesn't stroke these people's ego to be really intellectual. And two, it opens you up to not knowing all the answers, but knowing the right questions to ask to get the answers that's going to fast forward your business a million times.
So it's very interesting that in fact, in almost every outdoor business that I've worked in as a coach or a consultant, I think, Mark, for you, this is going to be exactly the same. Here's how somebody sets up their business. They come up with an idea, and sometimes that idea is something that solves a personal problem that they face when they go out in the outdoors, whatever it is that they do in their packing, in their spare time. And they then go and come up with a way of manufacturing or packaging a solution to that problem. And then they go and try and make sales. and they sell to all of their friends on Facebook and all of their close associates. And that's normally the first 3 to 6 months of getting into sales. And after that, sales become hard. And then people start looking for quick fixes to go and increase sales. Like, could I go and manipulate a viral TikTok video to go and get more people visiting my product? And if you're listening to this and this is you, in sort of business terms, you might think you're playing golf, but actually you're not on the 18th hole or you're not on the 12th hole. You're actually just on the driving range hitting balls. And you're not actually really playing a game of golf, because we've missed some of the things that will inform everything else that we do on the way through. So, Mark, do you want me to take people through the pipeline, or do you want to take people through the pipeline? I mean, really, we're giving away the golden egg in this sort of thing where people should start when they grow a business. And equally, if people are struggling with their business now, well, our suggestion is just go back to the start of the pipeline and start working on step 1 as opposed to on step 6, which is sales.
Yeah, no, you go for it. But I think before you go for it, I think it's something that we see time and time again. And what we see is entrepreneurs launching multiple businesses and failing multiple times because they're replicating everything around a product. And like you said, it's very easy to set it up. It's so simple because you look at your network and you sell through your network, but like you said, after 6 months, you're screwed. So what you do is you go, shit, I can't do anything more. I better stop that now, stop that business, find another product, and then do the same thing. And that becomes your life for 5-10 years. It's literally your poor friends and family end up having 10 of your products in the garage because that's all you do. But yeah, I think it's just important. So that can make money. If you want to do that, it does work. It works for 6 months. You can make a little bit of money, but it's bloody exhausting, and it's not a life that you or I would love to have, and don't recommend it. So, yeah, go through the pipeline, and I'll butt in when I think they need to hear my voice a bit more than I'll.
No worries, just jump in. So the pipeline is very linear, and just it's like a water filter, I suppose. That in a water filter that you use in the outdoors, you have a series of layers in the water filter. Maybe there's charcoal, and there's sand, and there's whatever else. And it takes dirty water from the top and filters it out to clean drinking water at the bottom. But if you get the layers of filters in your water filter in the wrong order, the filter either won't work or it will block up and stop working very, very, very quickly. So it's not about what goes in the pipeline. It's actually importantly about the sequence. And as Mark said with that recipe, it's not necessarily about the ingredients. It's about what you do with the ingredients, in what time frame and in what order, that actually produces the chocolate brownies. And there's subtle differences. Like with Mark making chocolate brownies, Mark, were you using a fan oven or a convection oven? There's no friggin' idea.
There's 2 different types of ovens.
Yeah. So that will have an impact on the cook time and whether you turn it round or whether you even open the door or not. And so it's often nuance and sequence that's the problem. It's not actually the what. Because most businesses do sales and then try and reverse engineer marketing. But actually, those are 2 important components that now we put in the wrong order. And I think that starts to allude to this pipeline. So, Mark, what's the number? Well, I don't know whether you're even going to give me the answer I want. But
there's a surprise. It's all about you, whatever you want.
Whatever I want. But I mean,
what's the question?
What's the number one thing that a business simply cannot do without if it's going to survive?
Customers.
Hey, you gave me the answer I wanted. Hurrah!
Not just a pretty face, baby.
Yeah, look at that sharp summer haircut as well. That's what it is.
I know, I had some haircut and now it's dropping temperature. I put my beanie on, it's so cold.
And we're going to the mountains on Saturday, so you better bring 2 beanies. Oh, yeah. Before I forget, and not this is anything to do with this episode, but people can, your black down jacket is in my bag.
Yes, I finally get it back.
Anyway, so customers, people, those are the things that you cannot do without in your business. In fact, a business without people is just a theoretical entity. It's not actually a business. And so the start of our pipeline quite literally is people. Who is the ideal group of people that you're going to go and sell to? Who are they within a 10-year age window, within a gender base, maybe even a religion base, anything, a location? What are their hobbies and interests? How would they describe their problems that they face? Which is subtly different. That goes back to Mark's thing around questions. How you would speak their problems is not very relevant. How they say their problems are is 100% relevant. Like, who are they? How are they? How much money do they have? How big a problem is it that they have? So on and so forth, and as much information around the people as possible.
Can I add something quickly there?
Yeah, go for it.
It's quite a practical one for us, because the more that you invest in what you've done, literally your world gets so simpler. Like, we had a conversation this morning around our newsletter, and our 3rd newsletter didn't get as many opens as our 2nd one. And as we looked at it, it was purely because I used the wrong language in our subject line, which didn't grab them, because I didn't go back to our customer profile that we have within We Get Outdoors to ensure that it said what they wanted to say. I wrote it. I used the word I would have used, not the word they would have used. So it's just a prime example of how, if you don't get that bit right, it can really affect different parts of your business.
That's it. And, when people are building businesses or thinking about business, I think most people want to get through this people stage as quickly as humanly possible. Because they desperately want to go and make sales and make money. However, I would suggest that the longer you spend on this, the more money you will make with it within a given time frame. Certainly within 12 months. Because once you have that done, and I think one of our profiles is 11 pages long, just in terms of how much depth we go into around customers, it means that when we do Facebook adverts, we're very certain we're going to get the response we want with the metrics we want from those Facebook adverts, because we base it all on that profile. So by having that profile, what you start to do is take luck out of your business and start to be able to build a business by design.
Yep. That is a pretty powerful statement, because building by luck is not a good recipe for success, for long-term success.
Well, I mean, ultimately, we all only have so much cash to invest in our business, right? And if we've tried by luck in the past, and I think we're between $150,000 and $200,000 in school fees of by luck. We won't go there. The moment we started going by design, for instance, the We Get Outdoors TV Facebook ads we're running at this point in time, I think I'm getting a click through to our landing page for people to sign up to view the We Get Outdoors TV channel. I think it's costing us rather, between 1 and 2 cents on the dollar per person visiting that landing page. Why? Because we got the ads 100% spot on to what it is that the customers want to see and experience from adverts. How much have things cost us before when we've tried to give stuff away?
Don't even go there. We're talking 10s, 30s, 40s, $50 a click. But and again, I think it's the journey that we've gone on. So what we're saying is it's a refinement. We started off by doing quite a lot of work on our customer, and then we just got better and better and better and better at it. And it's a constant. Again, so I think in the pipeline, while you say it's linear, this part of it for me is the thing that's 100% non-linear. because it happens at every single step. We refine that document. We had an hour session yesterday on our personas, and we're 2-3 years into this journey, and we're refining it yesterday.
And it is singularly the thing that supports every other piece of the pipeline. Everything else that you do. So we get to understand people as a starting point. That means that we have to put to one side the problem we believe we want to solve, the great idea we've had, how we think a business should be, how we want a business to be. We need to go put all of that to one side and literally go and listen to that customer base and find out from them, frankly, what it is that they're willing to spend money on, what their nightmares of today are, and what their aspirations and dreams are. And that then leads us on to the next part, which is coming up with things, let's say solutions, that to things that will enable them to leave where they are today, the doom and gloom of their world, whatever that may well be, and go towards whatever their dream or goal-like state is. And so we need to go and listen to them and then come up with solutions, and come up for solutions ideally that they say they're willing to pay for.
I think it's such the way you've said that is so important. It's to come up with solutions for them that they are willing to pay for, not come up with things for you that you now then need to go and convince other people to spend money. It's a really subtle difference, but it's so powerful.
That's it. Now, at this point in time, I just want to mention that we haven't yet come up with a product or service to sell to them. All we've done is identified this is where they currently are, this is where they want to go to. For them to move from point A, where they currently are, to point B, there's a series of problems and challenges that they need to overcome. And what we're doing is clearly identifying them and clearly saying to somebody, so Mr. George, my ideal customer, if I was to enable you to take one step away from where you are today towards where you want to go to, and is this the primary problem that if I solve it for you, will enable you to take that step? Yes or no? Would you be willing to pay to have that problem solved for you? Yes or no? And if the answer is no, well, what have I missed in the previous question? What's missing? And if the answer is yes, roughly speaking, how much would you be willing to spend in order to go and have that solution put in front of you? So we haven't yet thought about what a solution could be. We haven't yet thought about what a product could be. We're literally exploring with the customer what it is that they're willing to spend their money on to take them from where they are today, some form of doom and gloom, towards some form of dream or goal in the future.
I think it's important to stress at this point that we're not advocating that you sit around and randomly ask random people. I think it's very important that, like we do, that we started off by going, what are we both massively passionate about? You know, what is the thing, the outdoors? Who do we really enjoy hanging out with? People who love the outdoors. They're just really fun people to hang out with. Right, cool. So that helped us start the journey, which is we're passionate about the outdoors. We find other outdoor people really fun. Okay, well, let's start now working on the business pipeline with that. So I think it's really important that as you listen to this, you're not hearing us go, well, pick random stuff. Like, pick something that you enjoy, that you're passionate about, that you know a little bit about, that you are facing some challenges, and you can actually ask the right questions to the right people. Otherwise, it will fail.
It's interesting. I'm thinking, Mark, that this episode is going to be split into two. I think we're going to go and come to a conclusion in a minute, and then we're going to move on and we'll do a part two of this about the rest of the pipeline. Because I think that there's more time needed to be spent on what you just said. And part of it is, how do you pick a customer group that you wish to go serve, or you wish to go sell to, or even work with? I mean, ultimately, if you run a successful business, you will end up spending as much time with your customers as your family. Yeah, ultimately. So you better blink and like your customers, otherwise work is going to suck. And I often think that sometimes when businesses struggle, it's because business owners have fallen out of love with their customer group. Like the customer group. Say again.
I think that's such a powerful statement that you've fallen out of love. You don't fall out of love with your business. You fall out of love with your customers.
That's it. And so I've got, and I don't know, Mark, if you've got any others, but I've got three ways that I like to help people think about choosing a customer group. So one, Mark, you just mentioned, which is what's your interest and who do you, and link to that with that interest, who do you most like hang out with in your own spare time? I think that's what Mark just said. That's a great way of starting with a customer profile or a niche. And if we're in North America, we call that a niche, by the way. In fact, niche. So in the United States, we say niche. In the United Kingdom, in the United States, it's pronounced niche.
They've got so much to learn. It's frightening.
But here's a great thing. Are you ready for this? In niches is riches.
That's terrible. So bad. That
anyway,
every part of my British body.
Anyway, so right, so we've got Mark's first option. The second option is to pick a group of people who are identical to you. So if you are,
be careful. Mark, be careful what's going to come out now. I can see the cogs turning.
I was just thinking how to put this politely. So Mark's a gentleman of a certain age. That's sounded quite well. He's got an interest in backpacking and hiking in mountain ranges in his spare time and in his vacation holiday time. He's an entrepreneur, and so that would be Mark. So if Mark was to go out there and say, right, Mark would just go out and find lots more Marks to be customers. There's plenty of people who love backpacking and through hiking and mountains and whatever else. And the beauty with finding a group of people who are the same as you is that you need to go and ask less questions, because you literally can go, right, where am I and what are my problems and what are my dreams and what do I want to go towards? Right, I'm going to go and solve my problems and use myself as the case study, maybe, and then I'm going to go and sell what I've done for me to other people who are identical to me. That's a great way of going about it.
Yeah.
And then the third option is, and this very much fits into the high-end product sort of stuff. So, is find a group who you thoroughly enjoy hanging out with and selling to, and I've sold successfully to in the past. Now, I'm thinking about this, Mark, that if you were in the sailing world, for instance, most people who own businesses in the sailing world are not as affluent as the person who owns a 50-foot monohull.
Yeah.
Or even, we don't do private jets in the outdoors, but like most people who sell private jets cannot afford a private jet themselves. And yet there's certain people out there who have the gift of the gab and the passion for selling high-end products to people who are rich and do it very, very well.
Yep.
So that would be another way. So those are my three ways. Do you have any other ways of choosing a customer group for yourself?
I think those are the big three. I think it's looking at the whole of your life, looking at problems, looking at what you enjoy doing. Let's not overcomplicate it. That's
it. Cool. So those are the three ways. Now, there's fears, obviously, Mark, that people talk about. Is let's come up with some fears people think about. Does this mean that I can't sell to anyone? I just can only sell to that one particular customer group? You've probably heard that in the past. What's your take on that fear or that challenge that comes back?
So the fear is it's your business. You can choose what you want to do with it. The reality is the broader you make your customer base at the start, the more likely you are to fail.
Yes. And so if your niche is
say it properly,
is 25 to 35-year-old female graduates who've got a corporate job who enjoy rock climbing in their spare time, right? That's and they're not married yet and don't have kids yet. So that's just a brief description of a niche. Does that mean to say if a 62-year-old guy who likes rock climbing and wants some instruction comes to you and says, "Can I use your services, please?" Does that mean we say no?
Definitely not. We say yes and look forward to working with you.
Exactly. So we still sell to that guy. However, we align all of our business and all of our business messaging to our primary customer group, and anybody else who comes in is a bonus.
And that's how you look at them and treat them.
Yep, that's it. And that you probably wouldn't go and have huge amounts of photos of the 62-year-old rock climbing guy on your social media or your website or whatever else, because that all will put off your primary customer base. If you serve that primary customer base of the 25 to 35-year-old female graduates got a corporate job, love rock climbing, you want to swamp everything you do with pictures of those people rock climbing. That's it, simple.
The however comes, so I 100% agree. The however comes is, and I've seen this before, where people start out with a primary customer base. Let's use that female corporate rock climbers. And then after 12 months, realize that 62-year-old customer is actually the one who has grown exponentially and now makes up 70% of their business. Just without you even realizing it, what you've stumbled across just taunts that target market. So then you make a decision as a business owner. What do I do? So I think it's an important, because I've seen it before, that we keep our blinkers off about reality and desire, because they're not always the same thing.
That's it. And there's two questions at that point in time, isn't there? There's probably still huge amounts of opportunity with that primary customer group that we started off with. And maybe you've got a desire to work with and uplift that primary customer group I just described, the 25 to 35-year-old female graduates, blah, blah, blah. And so we have to ask ourselves, for what purpose have this group of 62-year-old guys been attracted to the business? Is it because there's lots of young females who are into rock climbing? Question mark. Or is it that we've mismatched our marketing and our language, and actually we really haven't been that appealing to the 25 to 35-year-old female graduates who love rock climbing? We have to ask ourselves the question, and then we have to say, well, am I happy to go and pivot and have a different customer base that I'm primarily going to serve? Am I not happy? It's not necessarily a clean, cut and dry, quick decision. It's probably a series of weeks and note-taking and question answering, maybe with somebody else talking you through it, to come to that decision before you decide to change.
And again, what you've identified is sometimes the biggest reason why successful businesses fail. Is because they don't press pause at that time, not pause in the business, but pause in themselves, and actually ask the questions. What they do is they get a shiny new 62-year-old followed by another few shiny 62-year-olds, and they get dragged to that space. And suddenly the customer has completely dictated to them what they're doing. And then once that customer changes its mind, you are screwed. So I think pause the video now, rewind it a little bit, get a pen and paper out and write those questions down that Rob's just articulated, because answering those questions will save your business. Guaranteed.
So before we wind up this part one episode, there's one last thing that came to my mind, Mark. So what if you're a current outdoor business owner and either you're offering experiences, products, services, manufacturing, whatever, and you're saying, well, this is all very well and good, but I've already got lots of customers. How do I choose a primary customer group from out of what I'm already doing to go and pursue? How do I do that? You may well have had customers in the past ask you something similar. So where would be a good starting point for that current outdoor business owner? They've been going for 2 to 4 years. They've already got, they're already keeping their head above water. They're just not getting the abundance that they were originally looking for.
So I would go back to the start a little bit, and I'd ask myself those three questions that Rob said in terms of who I want to work with. I would be looking at which of those customers are engaging the most with me. I would look at which ones I find easiest to sell to. And probably the biggest thing from a long-term perspective is I would look at which people keep in my business for the longest period of time by building new products and services and giving them new products and services every year, every couple of years, because that means you're going to build a long-term business. So I wouldn't focus on the people who are paying me the most money now, unless I had something to sell to them new next year. Otherwise, I'd be in the shit.
When I had my I can't remember how many businesses ago, a business called Elements in the UK, one of the pieces of advice I got when I faced this similar challenge was, who's the customer who keeps coming back to you and asking for more? So the customer is chasing you as opposed to you chasing the customer. And that for me was a really useful filter of who's the person who keeps coming back and saying, what can we do next year for our vacation? And my friend doesn't have much experience, but they'd really love to come on a adventure vacation with you. How can we make that happen? And the moment I flipped that and start saying, right, who keeps coming to me, and made them my primary target, my marketing spend went down probably by about 90%. And life got easier. I mean, the easiest thing in the world is to turn up to work on a Monday morning and have customers call you to spend money with you, as opposed to what most of us end up doing, which is thinking we have to attract customers to us by spending a fortune on SEO, Google ads, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, articles in magazines, so on and so forth. Actually, maybe we should just go and say, well, who keeps knocking on the door? Oh, good. Let's go and encourage more of those same people to knock more frequently.
So basically what we've done is we have reminded people that business can be bloody simple. Normally we make it really, really complicated because we are not, and again, I don't like this word, but so I'm going to change it. It's about us not being present in our business and actually being able to see what's right in front of us. We're always trying to second guess things.
That's it. So if this has been useful to you in any way, shape or form, or maybe you've got a question that you would like to ask us, there is the comment section below. So please go and put observations, thoughts, questions into the comments section, and obviously like and subscribe to the channel and like this video as well. There is going to be a part 2 that's going to come out in 7 days' time. So go find that part 2 video. We haven't recorded it yet, but we will do in the next hour. How exciting is that? And if you're struggling with this in your business and you'd like 1 hour of my time completely free of charge to say, help, I need a hand, this is what I'm struggling with, you'll find a link in the description below where you can go and book some time with me. I have 3 hours a week available. So first come, first serve on that, go and book some time. And secondly, if you'd like to go and put your business in front of our 80,000 followers on Facebook by being interviewed on our podcast, as a guest expert representing your business and brand, you can click on the same link beneath there, and in the web page it takes you to, you can either book some time with me or book an interview, or screw it, why not book both? How cool is that? Any parting thoughts from yourself today, Mr. H?
Yes. My favorite thing to do in life is kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
There we go. Cool. Right. You folks listen to this. Go be awesome. We hope this has helped. We look forward to seeing you next week in part 2.